New consoles. They coming. If I use my Amazon Prime card that can cover the PS5, I can put the recurring payments on a Capital One card, and then that should give me some buffer for the Switch, then Ultimate Game Pass. Really, the question anytime consoles come out is, what should you buy? Who wins the console war, which is a nonsense term anymore? Which manufacturer will sell more units? Who has the one up on the other? What should you buy? What should you buy? What console should you buy? Which next-gen console should you pick? Well, I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you the real of it. We're not messing around. We're not talking about teraflops and first-party exclusives only and naming conventions. We're talking about what is the real answer to the question of which console you should buy. My name is Steve, and this is Dying of Exposure. So I've done my research, and there's a few comparative things that you can put up on infographics, like the ones you see right here. Hardware specs, different design models, different options, availability, quantities of teraflops, type of RAM, type of optical drive, all that mess, backwards compatibility. These are all features, and they definitely influence what you should buy. But a lot of times these things that come from the consoles at you are what they talk about when it's in regards to buying. It's essentially exclusives, hardware, services. Those are the three things they talk about, but they talk about it like any of this is a one-size-fits-all bucket. And I'm here to break down what I think is the best option for a given type of gamer.
I'm a 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 gamer.
To buy for the next gen. Now, full disclaimer here on Dying of Exposure, my name is Steve. We all buy consoles at different times. I usually tend to actually wait about a year. I might not in the case of the Xbox, and I'll get into that later. I currently have a PS4, I have a Xbox One X, I have a Switch. I'm a proponent of gaming on everything. So, game everywhere, game on everything. But if you have to make a decision about what to buy first and everything, that's what this video is for. Now let's get it kicked off. What's the big differences? Again, there's that infographic. You can look at that in the description that compares all of the models. Essentially, let's break it down. We're going to put Nintendo aside. Here you are, Nintendo. You go this way. And the reasoning being is because their new hardware isn't coming out until like next year, probably first to second quarter. And Nintendo doesn't play the game that the other people are playing. So let's list the hardwares. We got the PS5 with the optical drive. That means discs. We got the PS4 5 digital. That means no discs. But otherwise, their hardware is exactly the same. Then you've got the Xbox Series X. That's the next gen new comparative to the PS5 with discs. It has a few features that are a little bit stronger than the PS5 hardware-wise, but as far as game development goes, we're not really there yet to see those differences, and we may not get there for a while. Then you've got the Xbox Series S. Now, this is a different one. It doesn't have a disc like the digital PS5 version, but its hardware is also considerably less. Now, let's get into the details of that. Now, the Xbox Series X and the PS5 with a disc, these are both $500. The PS5 without a disc, but as the same hardware as the PS5 with it, minus the optical drive, is $400. And the Xbox Series X is a smooth $300. I'm not going to use the 99s. I hate saying it. It's $500, $400, $300. Those are the numbers we're working with. So the Xbox Series S. This is what I think Microsoft is doing here. So Microsoft looked at the field that they have, and they're pushing their Game Pass services, and they're pushing their gaming access for everyone. They're pushing their Project X, which is their streaming games as a service cloud play system. they're looking toward games as a subscription service, a very Netflix model, if you will. Sony has always relied on its exclusives. So when Microsoft looked at the field, looked at the current situation we're in 2020, looked at the opportunities of how to get more people buying consoles. But if I were to assume that every single person that bought a gaming system did not have another gaming system and was only existing on that single gaming system,
there can be only one
of any given generation. So nobody that owns Xbox buys Sony. Nobody that owns either of these buys Switch. Let's say they all pick one. We're still looking at essentially 250 million units sold. Well, there happens to be 7 billion people. You cut off kids and seniors, that ends up being about 4 billion. Why are you only hitting an eighth of that market when gaming is so prevalent? That is what Microsoft is looking about. So the Xbox Series X, it definitely has less teraflops. It definitely has lighter RAM in it. It has half the hard drive space, and that's the only significant big difference that I am worried about. And it has no optical drive. I don't mind that, and wouldn't mind that at all if it had that full terabyte solid state, but it doesn't, and so I'm a little worried about that half a terabyte and filling up pretty quick, especially if someone doesn't have the internet that they need to cloud play the games when Project X really gets going with that Ultimate Pass. Here's the deal though. $300, which is essentially what a PS4 goes for right now. It's comparative to the Xbox One. It's actually a little less powerful than the Xbox One X in certain respects, but it still has the ray tracing functionality. It still has upscaling. So what they're looking at is how many people in our gaming market don't even have 4K televisions, don't literally have the display technology to take advantage of the visual stunningness of this hardware. Is that 20%? Is that 30%? Is it 50%? I'm going to look the numbers up and post them, but essentially, that's a lot of people that don't need to pay $500 when $300 will essentially give them what they need. What an excellent idea. Now, not only do we have that, but we have it with Game Pass. Now, we're talking about budget-minded people that haven't upgraded to a 4K. They're still playing on 1080p devices, so they can see the ray tracing, but they don't need the level of resolution that a 4K would, or even that an upjump would. Those people, if they're looking at a $300 console price point, what else works for them? Game Pass, certainly. That's just a monthly subscription. And it's, 10, 15 bucks, and you get over 200 games. They always say over 100. It's 200 right now. Over 200 games. If you play on PC, you get more than that even. So if you have like a mid-range gaming PC or a PC issued from work that you've installed Steam on, you play even more than that. And then they said, well, we're going to do that one better. So we've got subscription service with games. We're going to get a handful of newer titles there relatively close to their launch within a few months, and then every Microsoft exclusive will just be day and date to Game Pass, which is awesome. So you get some brand new games right when they come out. Sometimes you'll have to wait a few months, sometimes you might have to wait a couple years, and a bunch of great indie games and a bunch of discoverables. And you get it for a set price that's way under the cost of a brand new game each month. Killing it. They take that formula and they add one more thing to it. They're like, what if we had console financing? And I cannot believe I never thought of this before. I never would have predicted that consoles would have gone the way of cell phones and been like, hey, our hardware is a little expensive. How about you pay for it for a 2-year period of time? No interest, no APR. You're just paying off the same price you would buy the console up front, plus probably tax, although I think they might integrate tax into it. Unclear on that. But when you buy a phone and you do it over several months or several years, you still have to pay the tax up front, the sales tax up front. And then we'll bundle that with the service, because these are people that are, again, they're not looking to drop that 60, potentially 70 in the next gen for a brand new game once or twice a month. They're looking for affordable options. So now you have this Xbox Series X. It's a decently powerful machine. Certainly at $300, it's decently powerful. And you need Game Pass on it, and that's going to be a flat fee. You're going to have the ability to cloud game on it, which means the hardware in the system isn't going to matter as much for those with internet access to it. And you don't even have to pay a big fee up front. And you're going to do that for $25 a month.
Yes!
And that's going to give you games. It's going to give you the brand new consoles. Now, that is a goddamn deal. But what's a bigger goddamn deal is the Xbox Series X. Because the only difference between the Series S and the Series X on this financing is $10 more a month. $35 a month for the ultimate pass. That means gaming on your PC. That means gaming on the console that you bought. That means gaming on your Android phone, which is what I'm using to record this on, video-wise, for $35 a month. That is groundbreaking. The Xbox side, I'll give you the conclusion. If you can get finance for it, just buy it if you want a brand new console. $25 or $35 a month, that's a damn deal. You get the games. You don't even have to worry about the fact that there's no significant games to buy for the new consoles in 2020 and won't probably be until winter of 2021. Buy it. Buy Cyberpunk 2077 on it. Get your hands on it. Get yourself financed for it. Get yourself that console. I suggest the Series X unless you just aren't planning to get a 4K TV in the next like 4 to 5 years, and then Series S is fine. If you do plan to get a 4K TV in the next 4 to 5 years, just get the Series X now. Think about scalability. Why pay for an Xbox Series S when it's only $10 more a month to pay for an Xbox Series X? And then when you make that 4K upgrade and need that power, you got it. So it seems obvious, right? Xbox is the next thing. I mean, they did just buy Bethesda ZeniMax, and inevitably things like Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and probably Doom, probably Wolfenstein, they're buying up exclusives. They're releasing it. Gotta go Microsoft. But don't count Sony out yet. The Xbox Series S is cheap. The financing makes everything super accessible. But Sony has always traded on its exclusives. So if you're a person that likes God of War, Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, everything Insomniac's released, everything Naughty Dog is released, that's Uncharted, that's Last of Us, you want those beautiful third-person action games. You want a pretty broad access to JRPGs and Japanese gaming. You want a curated list of PS4 games. So here's my prescription on the Sony side. PS5 is a little bit different. There's a lot of people that didn't play PS4. They had Xbox Ones, they're PC gamers. The only reason they really want that PS4 is those Sony exclusives and those things that don't go over to PC gamers. So what did Sony do? Well, number one, they put a $400 option that is just as powerful as a PS5 with a disc. So you're really only paying that extra $100 if you like to keep your hardware, which is totally fine. I'm that way. I like to buy games on discs myself, but I understand that I don't need to anymore. And because of cloud saving, the ability to uninstall and just reinstall games that you've owned, 1 terabyte should be enough space for whatever games you're currently playing. You're just going to have to, shuffle what's on the box itself and then shuffle back up. But yeah, so the $400 and the $500 PS5s are pretty much essentially the same. It's just for those with disc preferences. Let's talk why you'd buy maybe a $400 PS5 over a used $200 PS4 to catch up on the games. There's plenty of PC gamers that do this, plenty of Xbox gamers, plenty of regular gamers. They wait. Something comes down to a couple $100. A lot of the greatest hits on that game are ready to go, and they're ready to pull the trigger. I think this is actually pretty common with Sony players, to be honest, and PC players. It's easy to wait for those big titles, and they're still so gorgeous. They're such blockbuster, AAA refined things that they age super well. So playing them 4 years later doesn't matter. They still look just as fresh as the new hot titles. You're in that Sony space. Why go $400 instead of, say, $200 for a used one off of Craigslist, OfferUp, or GameStop? Here's why. Sony released the PlayStation Plus benefits package. They announced that it's their response to Game Pass. Now, Sony's going a different route than Microsoft. Microsoft is going kind of like a Netflix. Sony is basically going like a almost like a loot crate, but like a really curated loot crate situation with PlayStation Plus. They've got about roughly 20 games that have been exclusive to Sony or that are big, broad AAA titles that are impressive. Your Final Fantasy 15s, your Fallout 4s, and what have you. But mostly exclusive to Sony and Sony release games. They're the greatest hits pretty much on the PS4. And they just give them to PlayStation Plus members on the PS5. So that's 20, basically 9 out of 10 or above. Things like God of War, Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4, Persona 5, Final Fantasy 15, Fallout, Resident Evil, the list goes on. And you get them for the $7 a month PlayStation Plus Pass. So now you buy your PS5 digital. Again, exclusives are really pretty absent, unless you're a big Planet fan. That's a weird way to say it. You're in with another less than $10. You've got a cavalcade. So if you skip the PS4, you're looking at the choice of spending $200, then maybe buying half of these games, if that, to get your money back. And then you've still got a last gen console, right? You've still got an older console, and that might not bother you. Or you get the PS4 digital, you spend the money up front basically like you're gonna buy a package of 10 greatest hits games that are some of the best Sony has to offer, and then you walk home with it. And you're good to go. And then you don't have to worry about buying another console. And you have the best new hardware as games come out. So as new stuff comes out. And I guarantee you, PlayStation Plus still going to be offering other free games and downloadable games. I guarantee you they're going to add things to this library. That's just going to be the way of things. Each service is basically going to sell delayed or specific or unique subscription things to get people to pay for it. Because both companies know it's better to have guaranteed money coming in directly to you as a store game provider than it is to worry about hits and exclusives launching big or not. If you want to buy the PS5 with the disc system for the disc, that's totally fine. It's probably what I'm going to do. The last note I should note is there's rumors that Best Buy and GameStop are now looking at financing options of their own that play a lot like the Microsoft Direct credit line one. I am excited for that, especially if they do it cell phone style and it's just like a draw to come into their store. Maybe do a standard upgrade plan where you get an automatic system replacement plan every 2 years, because it's beginning to look like every 2 to 3 years we're going to see a new iteration, like a slim version or updated version of every console, so that you can kind of always rotate in and be guaranteed to get that. There are rumors that that's happening. If it's happening, great. I'm all for it. That's access to games, affordability. Reach right out the gate. Get that new system so you can be excited at every new thing. Now, I know it's hard right now. Pre-orders are pretty much sold out everywhere. So you're going to have to hunt down over the next several days to see if any kind of major retailers get new stocks. And you're probably going to have to mask up, glove up, and go out somewhere on launch day and try to get them. I'm going to have a link of recommendations of stores and chains in the areas that usually have a few copies that nobody thinks about, but that's my prescription. If you skip the PS4 and you're a PC gamer or an Xbox One gamer, get that PS5 digital, because you're going to basically get your greatest hits library and everything missed. If you've got a good PC rig, probably just maintain on that. An $800 to $1,000 PC rig is pretty much going to do what the Xbox Series X is probably going to do, especially with those no 3030 cards and everything. So just get the Game Ultimate Pass. You still get everything that the Game Pass benefits you with the Xbox, and you don't have to spend any money. If you want to plug something in your TV, finance it. Just pay $35 a month for the Series X. You're not going to like it if you're a PC gamer on a Series S. If you're you have both systems and you're wondering which one to probably get first, you know, if you can get financing for that Xbox, I gotta say, get that Xbox. If you can get both, this creates the opportunity to get both, right? This creates a real opportunity that with Game Pass on the Xbox Series X, financed at $35 a month, and the PS5, you have the PS5 digital, you could pay $400 for that, $35 plus the tax on the Xbox Series X, which in most states is going to be somewhere between 8 and 10%, so let's just call it 10%. $500, that's $50. So that's $35 plus $50 right up front, that's $85. $440 for the PS4 digital with tax, the PlayStation Plus service, or PS5 digital with tax, the PlayStation Plus service for another $8. So that's $448 plus 85. If I do the math right on that, let's say 445 plus 85, that's $530. That's $20 less than a $550 console at launch, which is what they're selling the Series X right up front. You get all the games on Game Pass, you get all the games on PlayStation Plus, you walk away feeling like you grabbed it. They gave you financing options if those numbers aren't good for you, if you can't save up for that. I totally understand. We're in COVID. Who has the money for freaking everything right now? It's something to think about. It's something that might be very good. And I'm very excited for this console generation. I'd like to thank you for watching Dying of Exposure. Hopefully, if you're a PC gamer, if you're a console waiter, if you're an Xbox loyalist, if you're a Sony loyalist, if you're looking to budget, I've given you some ideas. Don't just buy the best hardware, or don't just buy the console with the games you've always played. You never know what's going to happen. Microsoft may wind up buying out Bethesda. Sony might respond in kind and literally buy everything that Square has ever published. Or they might go crazy and buy up some of the Warner Brothers games properties that have been on sale, like Rocksteady. So until next time, my name is Steve. This has been Dying of Exposure. Good luck with your future console generation. I know I'm excited, and this generation might be the first that convinces me to buy it right out the gate. Bye.